Beloved, the door can be opening before you see the man. It can be opening before there is a text message, before there is a conversation, before there is anyone standing in front of you who looks like an answer. And that is what makes this season so difficult. God often begins opening the door while you are still inside the tent, doing ordinary things, trying not to expect too much. Before I go further, I want to say this carefully. When I tell you the door is opening, I am not giving you a date to circle. I am not promising you a calendar. I am telling you something about how God works, that He begins opening doors before there is any visible movement on the outside, and that the woman whose story I am going to walk you through felt exactly the slow erosion you are feeling. Her name was Sarah. And what God did at the door of her tent on an ordinary afternoon reveals the kind of God who can meet you at yours right now. When was the last time you let yourself fully expect it? Not hope for it. Hope is something you can do with both eyes half closed. Not trust God's timing. That phrase has been worn down by use until it does not always cost you anything anymore. I am asking something more specific. When was the last time you stood inside the expectation that it is actually possible, not as an abstract someday, but as something God is able to bring into the real life you are living right now? If you cannot remember if the answer is, I do not know, it has been a while, then what you are about to hear tonight is not generic hope. It is a door with your name on it. Open Genesis chapter 18. The scene is hot. The text says, it is the heat of the day. And listen to the very first verse. Abraham is sitting at the door of his tent, not somewhere else in the encampment, at the door. He is in his old age, in the shade, in an ordinary afternoon, and he looks up. 3 men are standing in front of him, not approaching from a distance, not walking up the road, standing. Already there. The text does not say he saw them coming. It says he looked up and they were there. That detail is not small. The visitors of God do not arrive with footsteps in the dust. They arrive standing, already present, ready to speak. And the door of the tent, the door Abraham was sitting beside, is the exact place where heaven made contact with that afternoon. Beloved, that door in Genesis 18 is the door of your video tonight. The door where the visitor arrives without warning. The door that has already started opening before anyone inside sees it. Abraham runs to greet them. He offers water, rest, food. He hurries into the tent to tell Sarah to prepare bread. The whole scene is movement and hospitality. But notice where Sarah is. She is inside the tent, working. She did not see the visitors arrive at the door. She is just hearing voices through the fabric. And while she is working, one of the visitors, the one who is the Lord Himself, asks Abraham a question. Where is Sarah, your wife? The Lord already knew where Sarah was. The question was not for information. It was a way of placing her name at the door of the conversation, of calling attention to her by name from outside the tent. Then comes the promise, spoken where she can hear it through the fabric. I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. She is 89 years old. She has been waiting for decades. She has tried to make this happen with her own hands and watched it backfire badly. And somewhere along the way, quietly, almost imperceptibly, her heart wrapped itself in something protective, a quiet internal acceptance that maybe the promise was for Abraham more than for her. That the specific shape of what she had hoped for was not coming. She was not bitter. She still believed in God. She had simply, gracefully, made a kind of peace. So when she hears those words through the fabric, "Your wife shall have a son," something involuntary happens inside her chest. She laughs, to herself, inside, not out loud, not rebelliously. Just the quiet, almost embarrassed flicker of a woman whose expectancy has slowly eroded into resignation, even while her faith remained. The laugh was not unbelief wearing a mask. It was the sound of hope that had been waiting so long it grew a callus over itself. Beloved, you have laughed that laugh, maybe not in a moment you can name. But there has been a time when someone told you God still has someone for you, that your story is not done, and somewhere inside you, very quietly, a part of you laughed, not because you do not believe, because you have been hoping so long that hoping has started to feel like a loyalty you keep out of habit, not out of expectancy. Then comes the verse that changes everything. The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh?" Sarah laughed silently, inside a tent, behind fabric, in the most private possible place. And the Lord heard it and named it, not to condemn her, but to call it into the open so he could answer it. Then he speaks the hinge of the entire chapter. Is anything too hard for the Lord? And in the same breath, he renews the promise at the appointed time. The door is opening, with her name on it. Even over her laugh. There are 5 things this scene reveals about the door God is opening in your life right now. Each one is for you. The first is this. The door begins opening before you can see any movement. The text says Abraham looked up and the visitors were standing there. Not approaching standing. The arrival had already happened before anyone noticed it. Beloved, the work that needs to happen for the door of your life to open has already begun, in ways that have not yet given you any visible signal. You have not seen anything because the visitors do not arrive with footsteps in the dust. They arrive standing at the door, already there. The is opening of this promise is not a future tense. It is present. The visitors who will speak the promise over your life are already at the door of your tent. The next time you find yourself wondering if anything is happening, yes, lift up your eyes. The second, he brings your name to the door of the conversation. One of the deepest wounds of a long wait is the feeling that you have become generic in God's eyes. That the promises in the Bible are for the faithful woman, capital F, capital W, an abstract category, and not for you specifically. Some of you, when you pray, have begun to pray for a woman like me, for some godly, single woman who is waiting. You have generalized yourself because it felt too vulnerable to pray for you, by name. But the Lord does not generalize you. He asked, "Where is Sarah?" Not because he did not know, but because he wanted her name on the table. The door he is opening has your name on it, not the name of a category, not the name of any woman who waits long enough, but yours.